I want to go to Dana Bash now, co-anchor of State of the Union and our chief political correspondent, along with Bakari Sellers, former Democratic member of the South Carolina House of Representatives, and Alice Stewart, a Republican strategist. Thanks very much to all. Dana, some Democrats want to pass a law protecting the right to an abortion. Others are calling for the court to be expanded. None of that's going to happen with the way Congress is right now. Other Republicans want to enact a law that bans abortions across the whole country after 15 weeks. So does any of this have a chance of happening?
Likely not. That's the short answer. But it doesn't mean that the Democrats who are in charge of the House are not going to try. I mean, Nancy Pelosi, the House Speaker, said so explicitly when she spoke to reporters today. What they're going to do is legislation that codifies Roe v. Wade. That is expected to pass the House of Representatives, but like so many other pieces of legislation, does not have the votes, the 60 votes needed to break a filibuster in the Senate. Again, it doesn't mean that they're not going to discuss it. It doesn't mean that there won't be an attempt to bring it on the floor. The Democrats do have control over the schedule in the Senate. So if nothing else, there will be a vote to show where people stand. A lot of talk probably about this, but it's very hard to see in talking to my sources any legislative way to get through anything at this point.
Alice, you have lauded the court's decision as an astounding victory. Those are your words. Tell me why you see it that way.
For many reasons. I'm glad you showed my friend Leslie Rutledge there, the Attorney General of Arkansas. She and others in the pro-life community and social conservatives have been working and fighting for this day for years. And the pro-life community has been facing the battle to overturn Roe v. Wade since it began 50 years ago. And look, this is an important decision because what this does, it takes the important policy and decision of abortion out of the hands of 9 unelected justices and puts it in the hands of elected representatives in the states. This is not a ban on abortions across the country. This puts this back in the hands of the people. And we are a democracy. We are better served when the policies that impact us are made closer to the people. And this is an important step for the pro-life community. And they have been out there at the Supreme Court. They have been out there across the country marching, praying, holding rallies to make sure this decision has been impacted. And this is critically important because no one is speaking up for the life of the unborn. No one is out there to make sure that their lives are being protected. And one thing that is important to note is the pro-life community is there not to just protect the sanctity of life, but also the mothers. They have programs in place across the country to help them with the important decision of either choosing to keep that child or putting it up for adoption. And there are many programs that are ready and in place to help the mothers just as much as the unborn children.
All right, so Bakari, obviously Alice is making a pro-life argument there, but she's also making an argument that this is more democratic, that it's taking it away from undemocratically elected justices and putting it to Democratic legislatures. What's your response to that?
Well, I would have to say that Alice is pretty correct in the transparency of Republicans over the last 5 decades. I mean, they have not hit the ball and they have not hit their hand about the fact that they wanted to overturn Roe v. Wade. I would push back on the language that they use because many Republicans, particularly in Southern legislatures, are not pro-life. I mean, they're pro-fetus. What happens when the child gets here, early childhood education, expanding Medicaid, universal health care, et cetera. I mean, so you just can't adorn yourself with language that doesn't fit the policies you make. But this is not about states' rights. In fact, that's a slippery slope. It's extremely dangerous. We fought an entire war over that. We understand what that means for many people. Your last segment actually discussed that. But this is a very slippery slope because we know what's next. This is about the right to privacy. This is about the right to contraception. This is about the right to have consensual sex with whom you choose. This is about the right for gay marriage. This is about loving. This is about Brown versus the Board of Education. This is about all of those things. And so people who want to say that maybe I am losing my mind, we thought that when we didn't believe they would overturn Roe v. Wade. And so, yes, I'm not going to call out and her colleagues pro-life, but the pro-fetus movement won today. And Democrats have to get organized.
Alice, can I give you a chance to respond to that? Because Clarence Thomas did say that all of those rights were on the table. He specifically said the right to contraception, the right to gay marriage, that specifically should all be on the table today.
He did say that, but we have to look at what Justice Alito said, who wrote this opinion today. He said specifically that Roe v. Wade was egregiously wrong from the start, and specifically addressing Roe v. Wade and the issue of abortion not being in the Constitution. He said this does not apply to other privacy rights that are guaranteed in the Constitution. He specifically stated this only deals with abortion because that has the impact of an unborn human life. He specifically stated that. So I know that Democrats are going to use this as a rallying cry to threaten Democratic voters that this Roe v. Wade being overturned is going to impact other issues. That's not the case. And Alito made that very clear in the ruling that he issued today.
Bakari.
That's not true. I mean, the fact that gay marriage is not enumerated in the Constitution. Brown v. Board is not enumerated in the Constitution. There's so many things that are not enumerated in the Constitution. But Erin, let's just take this one step further. When you think about states' rights and leaving it up to the states, there are certain states now that if you are raped, and this is something, respectfully, this is something that I don't really have to go out and be in fear of, but women around the country are. And if you carry that baby full term, you are at risk in certain states of having a harsher sentence and penalty for aborting your rapist baby than the rapist. So this is what we're talking about when we talk about the inequity, when we talk about states' rights, when we talk about the absurdity and the lack of autonomy that women are going to have with their body. I don't understand it.
So, Dana, how we got here, though, is really crucial. I understand there's a real focus on where we go, but how we got here is really important because it's sort of like, do you listen to what people say, right? So Clarence Thomas is saying those other rights are on the table. Alito, who wrote the majority opinion, isn't. But yet we're here because people believed what those justices said they were going to do, and then they did do something different. Senator Susan Collins said today that Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh, both of whom she voted to confirm, misled her by this vote to overturn Roe. She said that that vote is inconsistent with what they said in their meetings with her. You spoke with her in 2018, just after Kavanaugh was confirmed to the court. I want to play for everyone that exchange.
Are you 100% certain, without a doubt, that Brett Kavanaugh will not overturn Roe v. Wade?
I do not believe that Brett Kavanaugh will overturn.
Precedents
Roe
are
v.
overturned
Wade.
all the time.
They aren't overturned all the time.
And she was wrong there, Dana.
She was wrong, and she said, as you mentioned in her statement, that she felt misled by not just Justice Kavanaugh, but also Justice Gorsuch. Joe Manchin, the Democrat from West Virginia, said the same thing. He too voted yes for Kavanaugh. You know, it was 6-3, and there, Bakari is an attorney here. He can tell you more about the sort of inner workings of how the deliberations went, but for 6-3, it wasn't just Kavanaugh. And Amy Coney Barrett, is another very important player here. And Susan Collins voted no on her, and yet she was confirmed. And the reality is that elections have consequences. And Donald Trump got 2 bites at the apple, full stop. One bite at the apple with Gorsuch, Democrats will, till the end of time, say was completely stolen from them because Mitch McConnell refused to fill the vacancy left when there was a vacancy months and months and months before the end of Barack Obama's term. But elections have consequences.
All right, thank you all very much. And the elections, of course, coming up now will have a very powerful consequences for what comes next.